Gazan, avenge يا عوداي. يا حسن ارفع القطعة فوق.
روح يا حسن.
ايوه خليها فوق.
روح يا حسن.
want to talk about the Middle East briefly, Rita. We've seen these demonstrations in Gaza from some very brave individuals who are protesting, Gazans protesting against Hamas. The media doesn't fit the media narrative, so the media is barely touching it. We're not seeing the demonstrations on the streets of Sydney or the Opera House supporting these characters against Hamas, which is what we should be doing, and our politicians should be encouraging this. Because what's going to happen? Only one of two things. Either Hamas is going to wipe these characters out, or, as I passionately hope, Hamas is on the point of being wiped out and is now so weakened that people in the Gaza Strip feel emboldened to turn against them. But what we don't want to see is a situation where Hamas remains in power and we end up with so-called elections and Hamas re-wins. Yeah. So that's got to be avoided at all costs. The West needs to be getting behind these people if it's legitimate and encouraging any kind of dissent against Hamas.
It's interesting that after, 18 months of protests, pro-Palestinian protests, we haven't seen a single one that I'm aware of in the West that is anti-Hamas.
I know.
That is pro-Palestinian but anti-Hamas, because as we know, Hamas are absolutely brutal Islamist terrorists, and the way they treat their own, the way they treat those who they think have defied their orders is absolutely sadistic. So that we don't see that at all.
No.
It says plenty.
But this, to me, James, this is Donald Trump's vision for Gaza coming to life. Donald Trump said people would voluntarily leave. Now, if Hamas is defeated, we're going to see people like that voluntarily leaving, and some will voluntarily come back after Gaza is restored.
I think we also need to be careful, though, because, how many times in the Middle East in the last
Iran,
20
exactly.
years? Remember the Iranian Revolution, Rita, you know about this, started out looking like it was a liberalizing movement. And of course, the liberals gave way to Khomeini.
When the left and the Islamists get together,
it
never ends well.
Yes, the students and the Islamists.
But you've got, I have been researching this, and there's a terrible report that one of the leaders of these protests in Gaza has been tortured and killed by Hamas. So, of course, we knew that's going to happen. There is some question about who's actually backing these protests. The PLO might be behind them as well.
You've got to be suspicious.
There's not going to be any peace there until there's an actual occupation by some sort of multinational force.
No, by Israel. You need Israel to occupy it, and you need Hamas wiped out. That's what we need to see.
You need Hamas wiped out.
Yeah, and that can only happen with an Israeli occupation. But the real story was what happened to Iran in the so-called Green Revolution, where the West stood back and the poor people of Iran
that was Obama.
were terrorized.